All right. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys all for joining the FEVO webinar today. We're going to give it a few more minutes to let a few more people join in, but thank you guys all for being on time and prompt. Go ahead and jump in for today. All righty. So first, we're going to start with a quick round of intros. I'll go ahead and get us started, and then I will pass it to you, Ben, and then pass it to you, Bill. A lot of B's today, so it'll be easy. But for those of you who do not know me, my name is Alyssa Persichetti. I am VP of Partner Success here at FEVO, and I help oversee the majority of our Northeast clients. I currently live in New Jersey, about 45 miles outside of New York City. So it's great to see some of my partners here on the call today. For a little bit about my background, before I joined FEVO, I was actually a FEVO partner and was on the team side for 6 years. I worked at the Oakland A's, started my career there in sales, and then more recently moved over to the marketing team to help oversee digital advertising and email. But super excited to be hosting the panel today and sharing some great information on the world of premium. So Ben, I will pass it along to you to do your intro.
Hey everyone, great to be here. My name is Ben Conrad. I am the Vice President of Digital Marketing Automation for the Milwaukee Bucks. This is my 26th season with the team. I started in ticket operations and kind of moved into the email marketing, database marketing, and now oversee the digital marketing automation space, which includes all of our email, some of our AI stuff, ticket promotions, different types of web automations, and then, as we're going to talk about today, pushing premium online.
Hey, thanks everybody. My name is Bill Makris. I'm with ALSD. Recently joined in November. I've been in the ticketing space team side for over 25 years. Currently reside on the beach here in South Florida. So I don't know if it's snowing where some people are, but it's not snowing here today, just to let everybody know. But really excited to be involved. Premium is more and more part of what we're selling. It's so important. So I'm excited to be involved and to contribute today on the panel.
Thank you both. And Bill, I can confirm the weather is very crappy here in Jersey. It's like 25 degrees and we have like 3 inches of snow on the ground. So I'm very jealous of your weather. Perfect. So for a quick agenda, what we're going to review today, we're going to start off with Bill overseeing kind of like some of the premium trends that him and his colleagues at the ALSD have seen as of late. Then we're going to pass it over to Ben to give some more in-depth information of how he has helped the Bucks sell premium online. And then lastly, go through kind of understanding the customer journey. It's amazing having Ben here on the marketing end, where he kind of has great insight to both sales and marketing, where he can give us more information on that piece of the business as well. But before we jump in there, just for anyone who does not know, just want to do a quick overview of who is FEVO and how can we help your business. So for those of you hearing about FEVO for the first time, we are essentially helping the world reimagine online shopping at the simplest form. We have a social checkout that makes it super easy for fans to shop together on any ticketing website, really just trying to restore the human element of online shopping without sacrificing any of the efficiencies or convenience of e-commerce. So again, just trying to bring people together online. When you go to a sports game, it's something that you do with family and friends. Why would the buying process be singular? Since launching in 2016, FEVO has become a dominant force in the live events, and we've helped 1,000+ blue chip brands in sports, music, and entertainment. And we've helped them sell more than 21 million tickets to around 5.7 million consumers. So super widespread here. But again, as I mentioned, in today's panel, we're really going to specifically dive into premium hospitality and how we are working with partners across a wide range of different industries. All righty. So first, as I mentioned, we're going to kick it to Bill. And just for a quick intro here, Bill, I know when we were preparing for this panel last week, I really loved when we chatted through like the importance of meeting people where they're at. Again, everyone's on their phones. I have mine right next to me at all times. People are
Yeah.
online. So could you kind of help us understand that more and kind of what trends that you've been seeing in the premium world as of late?
No, absolutely. So we need to be where the consumers are and when they're going, and where they're going, and more they're going to mobile. So one of the things on the team side we have to be aware of is the graphics. It might look great, online, but it has to make sure it translates really, really well with mobile. And we're seeing more and more transactions online and even more on mobile. So that's what we're seeing with our members. As you know, those of you who know the platform, it's frictionless. To your point, it's a social cart. It's very easy. I believe, and we're seeing that people want the experience to be quick, right? They don't want it to be laborious. And with the FEVO platform, you can get in. Number one, you can see the photos and videos and FMB, which you wouldn't have seen that in the past. So you have more content and it's an easier process, to buy. So we're seeing more and more premium being sold online. If you said to me, what would an average be based on what we've seen in our members, be over 50, almost 55% of their transactions are online. And there's a range, but if you said what would an average be, I would say about 55%. And we see that only increasing as we move forward. Younger audiences too, younger decision makers. Even though I've been in the business, Ben and I for 25 years, we consider ourselves young, right, Ben? So younger purchasers, younger consumers are buying more mobily. I mean, we even have some members that say we are seeing a significant portion of our premium sales being sold after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So that just goes to show where it's heading, because they're not transacting all during the day. And the beautiful part about it, doing it online, you're open 24 hours.
Yeah, that's a great point. I remember when I was at the A's and we were moving premium online, we saw very similar results. It was like people aren't really buying during like 9 to 5 business hours because other people are at work and working during those hours. So they are always like looking in the morning or after hours in that regard as well. Bill, have you guys seen any trends on like who is purchasing via mobile phone versus desktop? Or have you guys not been able to really dive into that just yet? One thing
we're seeing is that the buyers that are coming in through the mobile, there are a lot of new customers, right? So the anecdotal feedback is lots of new buyers when they're comparing those purchasers versus their existing database, new customers into the ecosystem where they can prospect them for a larger suite purchase, multiple suite purchases.
Yeah, that's great insight. I'm intrigued too, if like, have you noticed at all, like something I noticed at my previous stop was, I think some people, when they think of premium and suite, they think super, super high price value. Like, oh, there's no way as a 30-year-old woman, I could afford a suite. But I think that that's actually kind of shifted where things are more approachable in pricing. Do you think moving online has kind of helped kind of like tell that narrative as well?
It's a total difference maker. As I sort of touched on before, you have the spaces, the video, the photos of the spaces, the food and beverage options. So before you said, oh, it's a suite, it must be, to your point, out of your price range. But when you talk about theater boxes or, I think Ben was in our prep meeting talking about some smaller, we call it bite-sized pieces. People said, oh, I didn't realize I could get an opportunity for my family to come and watch the Bucks or whatever team it is. I can do that. I maybe not be able to do it 20 times a year, but I can do it for birthday parties, something special, anniversary, special night. So I believe that the more information that's out there, the consumers can educate themselves. And that's been a big impact on those incremental sales.
Yeah, I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight, Bill. Very helpful. We'll probably loop back to you too with some additional questions that we're getting in the chat. Awesome. But kind of transitioning over to Ben, thank you guys. Thank you again for joining us. I would love to get your perspective on this topic through the lens of more of like the marketing angle. Again, I think a lot of the time we hear from salespeople, but it's really great that you really have had such an impact on both sales and marketing within the Bucks organization. But yeah, just want to pass it over to you to kind of go over the topics that you wanted to review today.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's been a fun journey kind of getting to where we are today. I think how we got where we are, I think is a good note because obviously every organization is different and every situation is different. So for us, we opened our new arena about 6 years ago, and at that point, most of our suites and all of our premium products were in some type of lease, some type of locked in situation. And obviously with no matter how great your team is, and we've been incredibly fortunate to have a really awesome team during that period, that there is going to be changes and drop off and things that you're going to have to kind of regenerate. And during that period, we started to get more and more individual suite products and premium products available. So at that point, we started to really have to identify, well, how are we going to, execute these things? How are we going to create pipelines? How are we going to sell? And obviously on the marketing end, first step is how can we help? How can we execute against this? So I think one of the great things in general of just like in getting it online into a space where it is visible is it gives you lots of opportunities, right? So like you can see on the graphic, we did a Black Friday offer. A year ago, we would not have been able to do that because we didn't have it up for sale. But it also, and I think kind of leaning into what Bill mentioned before, one of the great things about FEVO is that it provides an opportunity to really, and our great premium sales people that we have at the Bucks, have heard me kind of talk about this ad nauseum, is the idea of, when you're talking to a person, how do you sell them on the phone? We need to be able to apply that online as well. So we need to take those same assets that you're verbalizing and showcasing and talking through, and we need to be able to do that digitally to provide a consumer as much of that experience or the visibility of that experience as we can. So I think, just laying it out and being able to really, there's a lot of areas where we can walk through benefits, because I think that's another thing just in general that relates to premium is that there's so many benefits that are so specific to each individual spaces that it can be really challenging for the consumer to digest, because you're like, well, what space do I get what with, right? So like the ability to really lay it out in a really nice controlled fashion that showcases each space, and then all the different details that go and benefits that go with them. On top of, then you can search by game and some, whether you're searching by game or by product, it's all available. And I think the other thing, and you can kind of see it on the image, what I wanted to showcase there is one of the things that we have a great creative team that works at the Bucks. We created a YouTube video that just kind of showcased your experience that you would have from the time that you parked your car to the time that you got into your space. This one is very specific to the West Bend Lofts, which is kind of the theme of that slide. But it showcases all those different things, because I think, again, similar scenario, you talk about visibility and understanding what you actually can do. I think people don't understand that there is this experience you can have, that you can have it with 4 to 6 people and not 12 and 20, that you can have it at a higher level for a game that's really cool, that's going to allow you to experience the game in a different way. So like being able to visualize that and bring it to life in video, and having that ability to put it on FEVO is really great.
Yeah, Ben, I think like your quote that I like want to get this printed on a t-shirt. I think your quote when we were prepping for this was like, people can't buy if it's not there. It's like as simple as that. Like if people want to buy and you don't have a buy link, then you're already shutting yourself out to like incremental sales in that regard.
Yeah, and so if you want to pop over to the next one, it's a fantastic lead into you can't buy if it's not there. So just to showcase, and I know there's all kinds of, and again, everyone's in a different spot organizationally about assets, whether it's people or products, but like in general, if it's not there, you can't buy it. So for us, one of the things that I actually pulled these numbers yesterday, and it was kind of shocking to see how big of a number. 60% of our sales thus far have occurred when our offices were not open, which is incredible, and just goes to show you, obviously, at the same time, that if it's not there, the chance of, will they fill out that form and will they, make that phone call potentially, but conversion rates for those things, typically for even in a really good scenario are somewhere between, 5 and 6%. So like the ability to do it right away before having to talk to someone is critical. And then the other one that I think is awesome, and I think it goes into this, there's probably depending on where you sit, whether you're on the sales side or whether you're on the marketing side or whether you're on the ticketing side, the idea of having it out there potentially of like it's taking away from my salespeople, there's going to be lots of different opinions about that. But I will say for us, like if you see 30% of the people that purchase so far have never talked to a sales rep and have never purchased a ticket. So in concept, these are net new fans in a lot of ways. And then it gives, not only is it a great, obviously, revenue driver for us as an organization, but then these leads, these buyers will get passed on to the sales team as a whole to be able to take them and really mature them into higher level product holders, because now they're going to be experiencing our product in a premium way. And it's an exciting opportunity, obviously, for the fan, but also for us to be able to identify new fans.
Yeah, that's great. We actually got a question here in the chat. For when you're saying like a lot of like net new people in your database, have you seen like trends of like those are people that like are outside of your normal like, oh, I would market to the XYZ premium like buyer? Are those usually like outside of that eco space where it's like you always wouldn't even have them on like a, let's say like a premium call campaign?
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting things is and I'll be in full transparency. Obviously, the net new numbers of customers aren't like in the thousands, right? They're smaller because this is a bigger product. But a decent portion of them we found have been from a longer distance away from the arena than a typical ticket buyer, and even a typical premium buyer, because it gives an opportunity, right, where you can bring, like we had one customer who bought, like, I think it was like 5 or 6 of our loft products for one night for a game. I think it was, they were bringing some type of like their office or something there that is like 3 hours away from the arena. So like that customer is someone in concept. I know it's one example, but that customer is not someone that would probably show up on any of our radars until they actually were able to do their own individual search and make a transaction.
No, that's great. It's funny, like one of my colleagues, Aaron Paris, I'm sure a lot of people know him on this call as well at FEVO. I always like his perspective on it because he's like, yeah, I buy like crappy third level seats when I'm going to a game with my kids, but like I could be a perfect premium buyer for when I want to do a birthday party or a company outing. So it's not always like apples to apples on, oh, because I buy crappy seats, I would buy a premium seat. Awesome. You got a lot more questions in the chat, which is great. Ben, not sure if this is something I can also take this one. I'm not sure if this is something the Bucks do specifically, but one of our attendees asked, how do you handle premium online sales in the case where there might need to be signing a contract? Can you integrate that into the FEVO buying process?
So what we do have on the bottom of all of our FEVO transactions that are premium related, there is a terms and conditions checkbox that has to be checked. I believe that accounts for all the different contract elements that we need to have from a buyer pre-purchase, and then post-purchase. We do have whether the consumer is someone that has touch base with one of our reps, that rep will follow up post-purchase to make sure that everything is good. If there's that potential opportunity for an upsell, depending on the type of product that they're in, just to check to see if they're interested in something. And then also obviously establishing, if they're net new, establishing a relationship going forward. So I think all of those things, I don't know if that 100% answers the question, but those are the steps that we have to take as far as like the legalities of the sale.
Yep, 100%. And we've seen that with other partners. It's a simple checkbox that will link out to their terms and conditions. Again, people are agreeing, not necessarily a DocuSign. But I know that person that wrote that is anonymous, but if you just email, I'll share my email at the end of the webinar as well. I can actually show you live examples of that. Awesome. Next question. We have a lot of questions, which is great. This is for both Bill and Ben. When you guys are all posting yourselves on working with other organizations, they're asking, is a full amount versus a deposit a best case scenario? Do you guys have like a preference? What have you guys seen in the industry as kind of a best practice? Oh, Bill, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Ben, would you like to start?
Sure. Again, from the Bucks perspective, all of our online sales have been for full amount. So we haven't went into the overall deposit piece of this. And I think a big part of that is where we wanted to start was really selling things that we felt were digestible to the customer. So the vast majority of our sales are on our West Bend Loft product, which is a 4 to 8 person premium experience. So I think making the product itself is more in a digestible, and I use that term in air quotes, both from a revenue, because obviously that's very relative to what people can spend, but it's one that you probably wouldn't do a deposit on because it's not, it's not as expensive as if you were doing a full lease suite for a year.
I agree. They're more bite-sized pieces, as we call it, right? Those are more bite-sized pieces, even though, again, that's in different markets, the pricing is different. If you talk about a term suite, full year, multi-year, that's probably where you're gonna see the deposit and probably even a more elaborate contract situation.
That's great. Thank you both. Another question here from Wes. How are you guys, for, I guess more specifically for Ben and Bill, if you've known from any other partners, how was anyone know, giving an overview of how commissions are handled for online sales? Are you guys commissioning reps that are servicing the suites? Or are you guys more so leaving those online sales with no commission based?
So I can talk what we're doing. So if what we want to make sure is that we are selling with the reps, not against them per se. Like, so if the customer is someone that is part of someone's book of business and they're actively engaging with that customer, I don't know the actual commission rate, if it's full commission, all those fun things, but they're getting credit for that. If it's a new sale that gets passed down that does not have it, they're not getting commissioned on the actual sale itself, but what they are doing is getting the opportunity to create and establish a business relationship that obviously could then potentially lead to commissionable sales after.
And in most cases, it would be similar to what Ben just said. If someone has no contact, they're a brand new customer, what we've seen is most teams, they're gonna hand that off to someone to work for additional opportunities. If you're working with somebody and there's documentation in CRM, that's going to be a share, and that person's going to get compensated for it. At the end of the day, it's all, majority of these people coming in are new to the ecosystem. Everyone's in a different situation, as Ben said, but there are teams that are seeing, upwards of 40, 50%, 60% of their people that are buying are new into the ecosystem, which is awesome, because when you're selling those premium, products, the premium products, you get the chance to talk to even more people and in their network as well.
Another important note too that I want to make sure. So like one of the things that we try to emphasize is that with FEVO, you can use ref codes to tie sales reps onto it.
You took the words out of my mouth.
we want to make sure that they also have the opportunity to use the links to sell in their own network and not have, they can go beyond the one-to-one, they can go one-to-many if they're posting on LinkedIn, if they're taking it into their own individual, private networks that they may exist in. So allowing that opportunity for a sales rep to feel comfortable doing that, knowing that they will get the credit if their rep name is tied to it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say as well. A few questions in the chat that are kind of a similar vein here. How do you guys handle fees? And is there a best practice? Do you hide fees in the upfront cost? Do you show fees to the consumer? It's been a big question. Again, obviously higher price items. How do team/Bill do any input there as well?
I can go from the Buck side. So what we do is the consumer still pays the fee, but we bake it into the price. So the Arctic's price is, $25.50 or whatever, and then the net price for the consumer is 27 ... depending on all the things. So we showcase to the consumer one full and net price.
I would agree with that. We're seeing most teams are baking them in, so it's one-stop shopping.
Yep, and I would say that's what I'm usually seeing for most of my partners as well. Another question here. Ben, can you speak to the working operations between reps, ticket ops, etc.? If you are selling these online versus historically processing them offline, how easy is it to manage inventory or limit certain users' access to inventory, etc.?
Well, that's a big question. And I think too, this is also an interesting one because I think it also depends on the people that sit in each of the chairs, right? So like I'm in a unique position where I have a ticket operations background, so I can pitch in, if you will, on some of these things. So I think in general, who manages the inventory is going to vary from obviously from organization to organization. From the premium side, though, the opportunity to be able to, I think that's one of the, again, nice things about FEVO and the kind of the connection. The answer to the question is yes to all of it, is that you can limit inventory, you can limit visibility in inventory or by class, all by the class that's given to the FEVO user in the setup. You can also limit ticket types and all the different things that you need to showcase only the things you want to have for sale. And then you can also make it, and this is kind of more what we're centered around right now, is you can both sell out of the same class and everyone has visibility into everything at the same time. So I think all of those things, happen. And then I guess post-purchase, one of the things that we have to do, and I know there are some interesting pieces of the way we have to sell now because of the way we use FEVO and then the enhancements that are happening ultimately on FEVO GM that will allow for, blind item seats to be sold together in a block. But when we sell them, we have to buy in the remaining seats, reprice them, and then add in parking post. So all of those things happen post-purchase. Those are done in some combination between myself and then our ticket operations team. And then our sales team from that period, we have a customer report that they utilize that they are looking at on a daily basis to see new sales that come in. And then from there, they are, pushing them out to the appropriate people to make the appropriate communications.
Great, thank you. Still a lot of great questions. We're going to keep going on the presentation and come back to those at the end, but keep them coming. This is great. Perfect. So on to the next slide here, Ben. I will pass it back over to you.
Cool. So I think for us, obviously, like as I mentioned, this was kind of a new selling situation. So we needed to make sure that we gave selling premium as much visibility as we could. And I think, and Bill mentioned this perfectly, is like we need to make sure we're selling where the customers are. So like in general, we wanted to make sure that no matter where and how you needed to make a purchase, that we provided you that appropriate navigation. So if you're going to our bucks.com/premium page, you can see all the different spaces, whether they're available, because we have, I think, 4 spaces that are available as a buy now. And then we have about, I think, 4 or 5 that are not, just because of some of the nuances that are involved in them and what they take. So right, all on the page, everything is listed, but at the top, there's a buy now button with a nav that says that you can click on the individual spaces that you want. You can also obviously scroll down and see all the pretty pictures of all the beautiful spaces within FEVOForum that you can get to. But that's one way to do it. The other piece is that, we were very, very fortunate this year to acquire Damian Lillard and have, we were already in a really good spot, and so demand again picked up for us, which is great. But then we also knew that because of that, we're going to get a much more heightened individual game push. So people are coming to our pages, and we wanted to make sure that, in general, if you're searching for a game, we want to make sure that that there is premium product available for every single game. So anywhere that you could buy an individual ticket, we wanted to make sure there was a premium button near there so that you could really toggle for both. So like, and I have the screenshot below. So if you go to our single game ticketing page that houses all of our home games with the buy link for tm.com, or some of our promos, it also has a premium button there. So like for any given game, we can have up to 3 buttons there. So it'll be, our core promotion, like our Bucks Night Out, also sold on FEVO. But our ticket, our regular Ticketmaster.com link, and then the premium link available as well, so that you can find all the premium products by game. And then another spot, which is our schedule page, right? So like, it's one of our highest trafficked pages on our entire site. People are going there to see the game, buy links, what jersey we're wearing, the giveaway. So all of those things, each one of those is going to have a premium button on there. because I think in general, we just wanted to make sure that, because again, it's new, creating additional visibility to what is available to the consumer, and then also be able to make sure that they can find it, similar to the thing I mentioned about that one gentleman. They knew the game they wanted to go to because it met what they needed living 4 hours away, and then they were able to find products that fit within that game to be able to bring, a group of people down.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of related to a question that we got into the chat about what you were just explaining, Ben. How do you find it hard to market to people that are looking for an exact number of seats in a premium space? Because a lot of the times that you're buying like, oh, I'm buying a full suite that comes with X amount. How have you kind of navigated that?
So that's a great question, and actually one that we're actively working on. So the way we're combating it now is, I mean, we have our premium page set up, so you have to do some self research on different numbers, and then on the actual FEVO buy page, each of the spaces are very laid out and mentioned how many tickets you get with it. With that said, one of the flaws as we started to go through this and we launched that we noticed is that if you're coming to one of our pages and say like, hey, I don't care the space, I just want one that can fit 12 people. We didn't have that. So we're actually actively working on some new search functionality that will go on our premium page to start your navigation, that will allow you to toggle based on space, based on number of tickets, and then also based on game. So as we sit today, we do not have that set up, but as you just mentioned in the question, we recognized it as an opportunity, and so we'll be updating and enhancing our spaces to make sure that we have that there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like that's always the hardest thing, how to communicate in best and most efficient way. And we have a lot of questions in the chat too, Ben, about can we make sure we get the Bucks website? So we'll definitely make sure to include that too. Everyone's very impressed with it. Cool. Next slide then.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, and I think in conjunction, right? So then there is we identified the products that we needed to sell. We wanted to make sure that we created things that are digestible to the fan. We then create spaces on our website that people could actively search and find different, find what they need, whether it's by space or by date. And then the next step is, well, how do we create a pipeline, create a consumer journey? How do we create different communications that we can make sure that we're delivering to these fans? So the first thing that we did is we recognized that we didn't have a go-to quote unquote premium list that we could start marketing to. We had to cultivate one. So we did that in a couple of ways. We started with, it sounds simple, but we created a dedicated opt-in. So if you wanted to learn more about premium products for the Bucks, check the box and then get added to, communication. That was one way. So then we started to we incorporated the premium products as a whole into all of our marketing on an individual game basis, essentially. And I know this is different for every single organization. In our world, the marketing team kind of owns the individual ticket sale portion of the sales process. So for us, the premium product itself, the individual selling kind of falls into that for us, and we look at it as I don't want to say we're managing it, because we're not necessarily managing. Our great premium team is doing that, but we're selling what's available. So and we look at it almost as if we're selling it in the same way we would sell any of the other single game products that we would go through. So how we did that is, obviously we're incorporating in every single email that we're sending, whether it's a banner ad, whether it's a secondary module in an email. But then we also created two specific ones that are really cool, I think, that are pretty specific to premium. One is Game Day Assist, which we send out every month, which is essentially like a game day guide to all the games that we have that month. If there's a presenting sponsor, if there is, giveaway, and obviously like graphically, it's presented in a really cool, I'm humbly speaking, like I think it's cool, cool way. And then from there, it allows the fan the opportunity to, go by game and select their premium seats. And then the other one where this is just new that we're launching like in the next couple of weeks, is a premium playbook. So we're going to be sending out, and you can see it's very dedicated. It's 100% dedicated to premium, but it really lays out the spaces and then the games that they're available, and kind of a really nice treatment that makes it really easy for the consumer to be able to see what they want. And then obviously incredibly clear call to action buttons to know which game you want to go to, or what product that you want to get into.
Yeah, it's great. And you kind of already covered this a little bit, but just to kind of drive home, it was a question that we got from the audience. What are some like ways that you really keep that like personal touch with the VIP audience? Because again, obviously you want to meet the customers where they are online, but you still don't want to lose that touch of like, hey, these are people buying high ticket value items. We want to keep them in our pipeline for years and years to come.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I know personalization is a big word, and it means also frankly a lot of different things to a lot of people. I think is making sure that we're putting the right products in front of the right people. So like helping identify the right audience, I think is the biggest thing as far as personalization. So one of the things that we're doing from a post-event perspective, like we'll take, so part of our post-event cadence, we have and this is for every game, is that if you spend over a certain amount of money on an individual ticket, we're sending you the premium playbook messaging or something that's specific to premium. And if you're an individual buyer of premium, we're doing the same. So it's really thinking through who you are as a spender. And then also we also take demographics into consideration. So for teams that have utilized live analytics and personics clusters, we'll take people who bought products in the past or different or during different time frames, look at who the higher end personics cluster folks are, and then kind of match up against purchases that we've had, and then send tailored communications to those people based on what we view them from a demographic perspective. So it's really kind of making sure that we're trying to deliver the right product to the right people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Awesome. So just want to do some key takeaways here, and also then lead into more question and answer. Again, we have a lot of great questions in the chat, so I want to make sure we can get through as many as possible. But for the key takeaways, I think the biggest thing, Bill, you covered it perfectly in your intro. Meet the customers where they are. People are on their phones, people are on their computers 24/7. If you don't have that buy button there, they're not going to be able to purchase. So again, it might not drive 1 million suites on day one, but it is going to be a social trickle and kind of a knowledge base for the consumers as well. Number two, if fans can't buy your inventory, if cans can't find your inventory, then how can they buy? And then three, of course, you really have to make premium offerings accessible and digestible. I think that's definitely going to be the biggest unlock for the entire industry, is trying to make it, how can fans understand all the different premium areas that we have available online without having to call in? Great. So wanted to do some additional questions. First for you, Bill. Question number one, and I apologize that we did not cover this when we started the panel off. Can you give a quick overview of ALSD and kind of what that encompasses?
Absolutely. ALSD is the Association of Luxury Suite Directors. The organization's been around for over 30 years. We have an annual conference every year. Last year, for those of you who were there, was in Indianapolis. We had almost 1,400 people this summer. It's in LA, July 14th, 15th, and 16th. You can check it out at ALSD.com. So it's an organization that really started off premium. It's still a premium focus. Vendors, sales and service. But as the business has changed, it's now also involving tech and the venues. It's a big part of it as well. So one thing is for sure, change is going to happen. So we have to adapt and change and evolve. And ALSD has evolved. And it was just about 5 years ago, we just started ALSDI, which is ALSD International. So this past year, we hosted almost 400 people in Manchester, England. And so now we have an international part as well, because as we know, people who have been over to Europe, sports is big. It's huge. So we're growing the US ALSD and also ALSD International. So if you're a member, we definitely appreciate you being in the community. If not, check us out because you'll like what you see.
That's great. Yeah, I know, Ben, you actually sent one of your colleagues over to Manchester, right? Matt Sue on your premium team for the ALSD conference.
Yes.
Got to give him a shout out here.
Yeah. He deserves it, that's for sure.
Awesome. Another specific question for you, Bill. I know that we focus a lot on the NBA, obviously, because that's Ben's focus. Have you noticed in different sports, are they more comfortable with online premium than others? Kind of like, what are you seeing from like industry to industry within sports?
We're seeing more and more teams, that are selling, right? This is lots of changes, right? Because again, even you say suites and premium, there's so many new products, theater boxes. The average person might not know of all that. So we're seeing more and more minor league teams that are selling online. Again, one of the ones that I made a note of was they were saying that they're seeing lots of premium people buying. They said like 10 o'clock till 3 in the morning, and I'm up myself till 3 sometimes, but it's probably not buying a suite, but it's fantastic intel, right? People are transacting 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And to our previous point, we have to be there, right? We have to be there. It's a simple transaction, right? To your point, social checkout, not too difficult, and they have their purchase. So we need to be where people are transacting, where they're going.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I always say, like, even just from my experience as well, a lot of sports buying is a lot of like emotional purchases. Like, oh, my team just won a big game. Now I want to go to the next one and sit in a suite. So that's such a great point.
And you guys make it so easy for parking, right? You guys make it really easy to add those things, because sometimes that in the past that can be a little bit of more work, but you guys make it seamless.
Yeah, awesome. So 2 more questions and then we'll wrap it up. One, Ben, specifically for you from Tyler. Have you guys, he said, Ben, you talked about meeting the customers where they're buying. Aside from email marketing, have you found success selling premium through text or other sort of marketing outlets?
So we've used SMS and full disclosure, our SMS program that we have now started this April, or last April, so I guess it's a new year now. But so it's pretty new, so we're still building that subscriber base up as well. But we did, when we did our Black Friday offering, we did include that as part of the overall communication strategy. I'm not 100%. I'd have to actually do some digging to understand the metrics as far as sales attributed directly to SMS, but that is a spot that we have definitely done. The other spots that we've actually done advertisement or different types of promotion, most of them have been holistic about going to the bucks.com premium page. Like during the holiday season, it's like we had a holiday hosting campaign where we're pushing information out, whether I think we had some billboards, we did some paid ads, where we're having people obviously go to the overall bucks.com/premium page. It's not necessarily like the push is not, hey, buy now. It's find your fit, so to speak. And then from there, if the opportunity presents itself to buy now, then obviously we're hoping they transact. But those are the channels that we've done so far. I think the next phase for us in that space is right now we're working on, so like I'm sure there are several teams on here that use an AI vendor like Conversica. So we're going to start using that, and they have a new feature, hopefully that's coming out pretty soon, where we'll be able to put direct buy links on there. So starting to use things like that where we can start initiating conversations, but then also with an AI rep that then at the same time can present a buy now opportunity for a customer who raises their hand. So that's we're going to continue to develop the marketing strategy that we're doing from an email driven specific space, but also start to get into these other elements to where we can, enhance our visibility.
Yeah, that's great. AI is like the hot button word, I feel like, everywhere nowadays.
You can't do a webinar right now without at least saying AI.
Bill, anything to add to that on just like other sort of marketing areas?
As you mentioned, AI, right? That's a big portion. I think at the end of the day, to your point, the relationship is key. When that person's buying, the rep needs to be seeing that customer. Follow-up is, the sale is just the beginning. Once that person leaves the venue, your work starts. And so I think, again, every team is in a different situation, as Ben alluded to. The follow-up is really, really, really important to growing that relationship, because every one of those people is a network of other opportunities, especially if they're new to the ecosystem. So I would say the follow-up is really, really, really important. I know that from a season standpoint, season ticket holders, we're always surveying them, surveying our members. When I was on the team side, we did some really, really unique focus groups in the past with season ticket members. And I think that some of that intel would be fantastic for premium seat holders as well. Focus groups. They could be virtual, they could be in person. We've done them at focus group centers. But you can get some really amazing intel from having those focus groups.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like data, like as much hard data as you can have on the buying process is always better and can lead to more informed choices down the road. But awesome. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. Thank you guys both so much for your time. It was great having you guys on today's webinar. For everyone that did join, I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question. If you guys have additional questions, want us to share more examples of how FEVO is helping other partners, you can email bd@fevo.com, and then we'll make sure to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. But Ben and Bill, thank you again for your time. It was really great having you guys here today.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
having us.
It was fun.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
You're welcome.